This episode of Around the Layout is brought to you by Rapido Trains.
Buying Rapido trains will make you happy.
Haven't you heard? Rapido Trains has announced a U-boat load of General Electric U-Series locomotives, U-25Bs, U-30CGs, U-33Cs and U-36Cs, and the U-34CH. You can check out all of these new releases and much more on their website, rapidotrains.com. Did the snow keep you from getting to the Railroad Hobby Show? No worries. Spring Creek Model Trains has you covered. Right now, ATLP listeners can take 5% off in-stock, regularly priced Rapido Trains products on their website through May 31st. Use code ATLPSPRING26 at checkout at springcreekmodeltrains.com. Trains aren't just a hobby, they're a way of life. At 1810 Designs, they create handcrafted wood art that captures the spirit of the rails. Whether you're a modeler, a collector, or just love the sound of a distant whistle, 1810 Designs is here to enhance the hobby. Visit 1810designs.com and bring the railroad home. ATLP Extra is our monthly newsletter delivered right to your inbox each month. Sign up for free at atlpextra.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Around the Layout, where model railroaders come to tell their story. My name is Ray Arnott. So glad you could join us. Social media has surely changed how folks in our hobby get information. More and more modelers are using platforms like YouTube and Facebook to document their work, share their skills, and ultimately inspire others to chase their model railroad dreams. On this episode, we're going to talk to someone who has opened up his layout through social media, and we'll learn how sharing with others has helped not only his viewers, but has benefited him as well. Welcome back to Around the Layout, Tim Garland. Tim, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Ray. Thanks for having me back.
Awesome to have you back. I was looking, we had you first on the podcast, episode 88, Seaboard Central. That was February 27th, 2024. Recommend some folks go back to that episode and take a listen again if you've heard it before and learn more or get a refresher on the Seaboard Central. But before we roll into this, why don't you just give us a little bit of a summary about the Seaboard Central?
Okay, well, the Seaboard Central is my freelance railroad that's based in southeastern United States in the states of Alabama and Georgia, and it is set in the summer of 2015. When I came up with the idea of the Seaboard Central back in 1990. I had originally kept things current. I was a big fan of Eric Bruman's Utah Belt, so the Seaboard Central got a lot of influence from it. And I kept it current up until the year 2015 when I decided to stop the clock there in the summer of that year for a couple of reasons. And it's helped me actually get everything focused and dialed right in. And I'm really happy with where I'm at with it for right now.
Oh, excellent. And then we had you back on. We'll share all the links to these episodes in our show notes around the layout.com/221. We talked about operations because I know one of the things you love to do with a Seaboard Central is operate it, right? You bring that railroad to life and conduct operations. Tell us how the layout's going.
As a layout owner, you're constantly tweaking things to help improve operations where you want to keep things on the track, so to speak, keep things going on track. And so it's constantly I'm working on it and making adjustments. But as far as operations goes, that's one of the things I've always enjoyed. It's everything that I do from weathering to scenery to any kind of electronics, as far as programming or whatever, is focused around operations and achieving that prototype-based operations where the Seaboard Central looks and operates just like a real railroad.
You talked about when you started the Seaboard Central. When did you first start sharing the Seaboard Central online?
I want to say it was around 2013. I decided it was one of the original Seaboard Central layouts. Of course, I've had many layouts before this point, but when I really started building the one that everybody knew about online in our old house, it was basically in a room around 12 by 23 feet, and I had another staging 12-foot long staging yard in an adjacent room. And it was just an around the walls layout. And so I started documenting construction of that layout around 2013, and it was just hit and miss for a little while I got my feet wet in putting something out on YouTube. And then it got to the point where I started doing monthly layout updates. And one of the reasons I did it was for myself so I could document the progress of the layout. It helped me to keep me going and motivated and to trying to show that I had actually done something over the last month to show the viewers that were starting to become fans of the Seaboard Central.
Now, as you started sharing it, did it kind of add some pressure to get work done on the layout so that you could get the video? Did one drive the other?
Yeah, well, I found out the best thing that I could do, and I still do to this day, is make lists. And so, you know, at my day job on the railroad, on a real train, I'll get a set of dispatcher bulletins, and there's a lot of times where you're sitting and you're waiting on the next move for the conductor to make, or you may be sitting at a stop signal or whatever, but you have some free time. And that's when I can think about some of the projects that I need to be taken care of on the layout. So I'm always making a list of things to do by order of importance. And so I'll just go down the list of this is one thing I need to get done, and so on and so on. And I can check them off as I go along. And the list it just updates every day. So if I get one thing done, I'm adding more things to the bottom of the list. And I can look back over time at some of those old lists and think, wow, I have completed so many projects. But my goal is to have about 5 things done per month. And it could be something as small as weathering a car, or it could be something as a larger project on the layout, something that might take a little more time. There's been things I've done, like I try to do a weekly video. So I may do a how-to series on maybe I'm doing a project that might involve a certain section of the layout where I'm showing how I'm building that particular section step by step, which those seem to be pretty popular. People like to watch the step of how you do it and show your methods. But coming up with new videos to try to keep people interested, that is probably the biggest challenge.
As you started to put out content for your layout and sharing that information, was there information coming back from others that was helping you as well?
Well, I like to watch other people's videos online, and I'll find certain content creators that I'll see what they're doing. It may be something that how they're doing it may be of use to me, but I'm thinking about what my layout needs, or maybe there may be something I didn't see online that I would like to see. And so that may be something that I could share to somebody. Being that I do work for a prototype, a lot of people are hungry for that kind of information, that inside baseball type information that you can give folks, that maybe that can help them bring more realism, another layer of realism to their own layout and their own operations. So I'll try to do videos like that where I'll talk about things like that and that you may not necessarily think about. It may not be something that you want to get that involved in, or it might be something that is really you find really interesting and you never knew about it and you might want to consider.
When you started to share on your social media pages on YouTube and started sharing videos on YouTube, what kind of feedback were you getting from the viewers that you had?
It's mainly been positive, but there's been also a lot of questions, and sometimes that actually drives a topic for a new video. For example, one I just did recently was why I was using 3 locomotives on a local, which was just handling a handful of cars, and they were like, "That seems like it's overkill to use 3 locomotives on a particular local." But I was showing where there's more to it than just what you may have seen in the video, where I was switching out an industry that only had 4 or 5 cars, and the local has whole lot of different things that they have to do during the day that may require the use of all 3 of engines. For example, the local that I'm on at work typically as lately has been running with one GP60, a one GP33 Eco, and a Slug, all three together. And even though our route sometimes could just be the GP60 would be enough. However, when you're building the train and there's other things that you have to do as far as classifying cars and things, having those other engines really helps out because now you have the more muscle, more power to pull up hills and you're handling larger cuts of cars where if you only had that one single unit, it would really be struggling and there'd be times it wouldn't be able to handle it. And so that's what I was trying to show in the video. So that question from a viewer prompted the new video, which I thought that would be a good topic to discuss. So sometimes when folks comment or they might have a question, I'll that might be help me to come up with a new video or something that maybe I think maybe they didn't know about. So I'll put something out like that.
Do you see this content creation being a supplement to the layout building? Do you see that it's helped with the layout build by being able to share this as well?
Well, it definitely has helped me because I've watched videos of folks weathering a freight car using their methods. And a lot of times it's a step-by-step process and you can see what kind of results they achieved with what mediums they used. And that's helped me before to go after and it really helped me to start doing that where before I was too timid or too shy to even break out that airbrush. But then I watched how other people were doing it and it made it so much easier. Now it's nothing for me to, weather a car or a locomotive. I don't think twice about it. I might find something that has to do with installing electronics because electronics is something just I'm not really that enthusiastic about, but I'll do it if I have to. It has to be done. As far as installing decoders or something, I'll pass that on to my friend Jason at Georgia Bigfoot Trains. Let him handle that part. But getting under the layout and installing, say, tortoise switch machines or something like that, I've watched other YouTube videos on not just installing the switch machine, but installing it to a control panel and getting the DCC system to control the switches. So using that kind of information has really helped improve the fun value of my own layout.
I'm sure that passion to share your layout also drives your passion to continue making progress on your layout as well. I mean, kind of build it so that you have that content to share, right?
Right. So it's kind of hit and miss. You can with YouTube, you never know because what really drives the videos is that like button. I mean, it is great to have a lot of subscribers. I would love to have 100,000 of them. But what really drives YouTube pushing your videos out there is when folks hit that like button if they really like it. So you'll hear a lot of YouTube creators begging people to hit that like button or comment or leave a comment. That's another thing that helps to drive your video for other folks to see it and make it suggested content. And so some videos will take off on you, and some you're like, okay, well that must not have been that popular of a video, maybe, or people are busy. It's just the time of the year. It slows down in the summer. People are outside. They're doing other things, or maybe it's football season and they're whatever. You're competing for people's time, and so finding that time where people they can sit down and watch your videos and you're up against other creators as well. And there's some good ones out there.
Let's talk about creating good content in your process for that. Let's talk about some of the topics that you have found have been ones that give good results, not only statistically, and maybe the statistics aren't really as important as the impact, right? How many people are actually being able to take that information and use it? Talk about some of the topics you've been able to cover that have really helped.
Well, the biggest videos for my channel is normally my updates because people want to see progress. And often it's not fast enough because they know where I've put out there where my end goal is. Although my time frame for my end goal is 5 years from now, they want it 5 minutes from now because that's just the nature of people. They want to see the layout grow and expand. And my concept is what Joe Fugate referred to as the one module approach, where you build out a module, basically finish before you start on a new one. And I've been doing that, and that's helped me to get something up and running real fast and enjoying the layout instead of trying to do all the bench work, all the track work, all the wiring, and not have any scenery, not do any weathering, none of that. For me, I would get burned out real quick if I had to do all the entire layout that I plan on building. I may not ever get to the phase where I'm enjoying. I'm able to enjoy my own layout now from where I started. So knowing that I'm not moving as fast as some people would like, I have to think outside the box as far as giving a content creation that keeps people entertained. And I think from my research is that there is a certain process that you have to really aim for to keep people's attention, or you're going to lose people. For example, people aren't going to sit and watch a talking head. So if I said at the beginning of my video and I'm sitting there where you're looking at me and I'm just talking to you for 10 minutes and I'm not showing you the layout of the trains, they're going to click off and find something else to do. So you've got to get that. You can do a summary of what you're going to talk about, but you got to get in there and show those shots of your layout because that's what they're there to see. And you can't stay on one shot for too long. So you have to keep it's a constant editing process where you're taking so many seconds of the train and then you got to go at a different angle, different, to keep people engaged, because that is the hard part about when it comes to YouTube is keeping people engaged, because most people won't even click on a video if it's longer than 7 minutes. That's why YouTube keeps wanting people to push out shorts, because shorts are very popular for a lot of people because they just don't have the attention span to sit through a 30 or 40-minute long video. So
yeah, if it's in a busy schedule, right? You have,
right.
8 to 10 minute videos, maybe some a little longer, maybe a little shorter, but
Yeah.
and I'm also sure that helps you with the editing time as well, because that ratio of time of the video versus time to edit, I know that's a 2 to 3 to 4 to 1 at times.
I can. It's so hard for me to create a 7-minute video because when I do my video, because I want to get the stuff I want to talk about in there, most of the time it ends up being around 14 minutes, 14 or 15 minutes long. And some people can handle that. YouTube will send you a lot of feedback of, all right, your people. The first thing they want to tell you is how many people were still watching after 30 seconds. Because within the first, you're gonna either keep them or you're gonna lose them within the first 30 seconds. And so your opening shot has got to really draw them in and to hold on to them so they'll keep watching. But then it looks at the average length of. So I've put out a 14-minute long video. The average length of people watching may only be 6 minutes. Believe it or not. That's kind of hard to believe, but that's generally what happens. It also, I don't know how they know it, but they know the average ages of people that watch, the who watches my videos, the times they watch my videos. So that can help you when you're publishing or whatever.
We were talking about topics, and one thing I found very interesting about your channel and the information you're able to provide is that inside baseball stuff, because you are a professional railroader. You have some inside information and you're willing to share what you know about the prototype, which helps us model. And one series I really love that you did was on rolling stock. You talked about gondolas. You did a 2-part series on box cars and really got us in, like, it's not just this is a box car. That's also, no, there's differences, and there's difference in the commodities that they put in each box car, and same with all other cars. And that inside baseball must be really fun for you to share, and for folks that are like me that just eat up that inside baseball. There it is. You're creating it.
Where I learned all that, for a while, I took a supervisor's job in the corporate office, and I was in rail car management. And so that gave me the opportunity of managing different car types. And so one of the first was box cars. I was in the box car group, and then I moved over to the hopper group, and then ended up in the covered coil group before I exercised my seniority and went back to running a train. But while I was there, those 7 years I was there, I learned all about rail car distribution and how that works. And I gained so much knowledge when it came things I didn't even know as a conductor or a brakeman or an engineer, or even when I trained as a yard master, I didn't know all the ins and outs of how the cars move, whether they're empty or loaded, what drives them to the customer, and the commodities that they are hauling. For example, when I was in the boxcar group, I was distributing boxcar hauling cottonseed. Now, I would have never thought about cottonseed riding in boxcars, but they were bags of clay, lumber, brick, paper products, you name it. They were in. There's a lot of different commodities you may not necessarily think about, but they can't necessarily ride in the same cars. You can't take a car that's handled clay and then go get a shipment of paper. It's not going to work because the paper customer is never going to take that car. They want a pristine car. It has to be clean. So your F box type cars that you love so well, those are paper cars. Those are grade A cars, and they're designed to haul printing paper, and they don't leak. They're tight, and the inside is spotless. They run them through a clean out track to make sure of it, and because the paper customers demand it, so you have to keep those old rusted, old beat up, old leaking box cars for brick service.
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah.
And what's interesting, I mean, how that information helps with operations now, because now you can take all of what I've learned by watching your channel and then apply it to an operating scheme and say, okay, I've got different rated graded cars on my layout, and no, those aren't going to go to the paper mill. They're going to go somewhere else or in a different type service. And now I've just enhanced my operating scheme by that much more.
Yeah, a lot of model railroaders that nothing against the old car card and way build system that so many people use, but it's not prototypical, especially in today's world, as far as that car emptied at this particular industry and now you're routing it to another particular industry. Cars, there's not many free runner cars out there that can just go from place to place. There's a few, but they're more or less the free runners are kept in the same type of commodity. So your rail boxes, your T boxes, your F boxes, they're in what they call a national pool. They can uh, they can be used by these Class One railroads to go to various industries that require those types of cars. But railroad marked cars, like my Seaboard Central box cars, are in what I call a shipper pool, and they when they're empty, they're supposed to return back to where they came from, and they're not supposed to be reloaded. So that's prototypical.
That's all amazing stuff to be able to be shared on your YouTube channel
Hmm.
and also shared on there a bunch of how-to videos. And one of the ones in particular, you and I have conversed quite a bit on because it really inspired me. And in fact, now when I talk to people about it, I call it the Garland method, is programming the proto throttle.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate it because you found a way to, in a sense, demystify the process and give a step-by-step tutorial through videos. Talk about producing all of that content to get the people up to speed on the proto throttle.
Okay. Well, the proto throttle is a game changer as far as operations. If you love operations, especially switching type operations. Now, if you're more of the rail fan, you just want to turn the trains loose, sit back and watch them go around the layout. Proto is probably not going to be for you. But if you like to stay in one particular area and switch out customers, switch the yard, you're focused on that kind of thing because you enjoy that problem solving side of operations, then the proto throttle is definitely something that's going to take it to the next level. And all it is a miniature control stand that you can either hold in your hand, or they even have fascia holders where you can put it on the side of the layout and which that's what I do in most cases. I have little holders to hold mine, and because generally I'm going to be in one particular place when I'm using it, unless I'm walking around following the train. So it takes two things. It takes a great decoder with good programming and then programming the proto throttle itself. So I've got videos on how to program your proto throttle to get the best use out of it, to make it mimic what a real locomotive, how it operates, and also probably more importantly, programming your decoders, because you don't necessarily have to have the proto throttle. You can still program your decoders to perform like a real locomotive even without the proto throttle. And when you do that, you're going to have to think like an engineer. It's not just turning a knob and rheostat knob and go fast, go slow. And now you've got it programmed to where to get it to stop, you have to engage a brake. And it's either on the proto throttle or on your keypad. You're going to have to put the brakes on to get the thing to stop. And that takes some planning, but you can definitely do it. And when you get used to it, you don't want to go back because you're just finding a regular throttle just lame and it's just it's nowhere near as fun as the challenge you get from operating with the proto throttle.
Yeah, it's a game changer for sure. And it's definitely a great tool. And when you get to learn it via video through your channel and get to see how you've done it and build a process of your own for setting up the proto throttle and setting up your locomotives, it definitely helps. Talk about creating those videos, the steps, the process in your mind, and take us kind of behind the scenes of creating either that or even some of your other how-to videos. How is the process of sitting down saying, I'm going to create a video on this? Talk us through it.
All right. Well, the how-to videos are going to be your harder videos to make compared to some of the others because you have to normally when we do something, we don't stop. We just go right through it without stopping. Now you're having to think about, I need to be able to show each step. So I've got to document my whole progress all the way through. And it may require planning on writing the things out. Like this is what I need to cover at each stage. And it like, and you can show some of the things like as far as programming a decoder. People can follow along with you as you go into. I use the all Loc sound decoders, so I use a Loc programmer, and you can just set the camera up to look at what you're doing using the your laptop and programming the decoder, and then you with I will say with how tos as far as operations with the trains, it's a bunch of different takes because it's you're filming in one stage and now you got to stop the train. You have to go back and reposition it back where it was before, do another angle and it's a lot of work just to show what the certain scenes trying to depict or actions you're trying to depict. So it's going to take 3 or 4 times longer than what you would normally do if you were just doing it yourself.
Do you storyboard it out? So you talked about notes, but do you like say, in your mind or even on paper, like, okay, scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, do you get that level, or how do you kind of keep this organized?
Sometimes I'll be thinking about, all right, how am I going to open up this video? What am I going to talk about? How am I going to show and make it like I said, the biggest challenge you have is keeping it interesting. So at the same time, because if you don't want to lose people and you want people to enjoy what you're doing so they'll keep coming back, sometimes it helps to think about and maybe write it down. Other times if you already know and you're comfortable with it, you can just put something out there, and sometimes it just comes together on its own. And you got to know when, okay, that's enough, and this is a good stopping point, because I think that's been challenge for a lot of people. They probably could have made 2 or 3 videos out of one when they made this gigantic long video. I've noticed some people even timestamp their videos. Say if you want to just fast forward to this particular spot where I'm talking about this subject or whatever. And that's not just model railroad, and that's any kind of YouTube video. I mean, if you've ever watched somebody's trying to tell you something that's going to improve your health or whatever, and you're like, just get to the point. Tell me, been talking for 20 minutes, and I want to know how I'm going to improve my health. Get to the point, and so you got to be thinking about things like that, and but at the same time, try to make it interesting and keep people watching.
I've told that story a few times. I did work on my wife's dryer, and I would pull up a video and be like, we'll show you how to change the heating element on that Cabrio dryer in just a minute. But first, the earth was a molten mass, and then the dinosaurs came. And then it's like, just show me how to fix my washer, please. Would you just show that for me?
Yeah. So especially if you bring up the topic that you're going to talk about and it takes you forever to get to it. No, I want to get right into it. So I don't feel like I'm wasting anybody's time. They're enjoying it. And especially I want people to ask questions if I didn't answer it, or if they got more questions, I read all the comments, and I've found out that I try to respond to each and every one of the comments on my videos, just to show that I care about what you're saying to me, whether you're giving me the feedback, or you enjoyed it, or you had a question about something. I'm going to do my best to try to answer it. And if it's a question that I think could serve as a good topic for a new video, that's what I'm going to cover.
Talk about how you manage time and avoid kind of the content creator burnout, where at times, even I faced it at times where it's hard. Content creation is not easy, and all these thought processes of trying to create interesting content for people, and then the time it takes. This takes a lot of time to shoot the video, and then you got to go back and do the editing process. You're putting subtitles in, you're creating all this other stuff that needs to go as part of that. How do you balance that and still make progress on the railroad?
Yeah, there's been times when I've not only made a list of, say, projects on the layout to complete, I've made a list of upcoming videos, the topics that I want to cover. And since, like I said, it's been hard, especially when you put out a video every week. I try to put my videos out every Sunday around 11 a.m. Eastern. And just coming up with interesting topics can be a challenge sometimes. So I try to map it out, and I can tweak it and make adjustments as I go. For a good example, tomorrow's video that I'm going to cover is something that people don't really think a whole lot about, is locomotives going out of service due to FRA requirements. So they got a federally mandated time where locomotives have to be inspected. And so I'll be covering that particular topic, and I'm going to tie it into my layout and how I'm going to take advantage of that particular, use it not only to make the layout seem more prototypical, but to use it to my advantage on helping the layout operate better.
Well, that's awesome. And now you're able to create that video, and you tie in operations. So knitting the two seems to kind of walk together, right? You got the content creation side, but you got the layout. So when you need to improve a video or make a video, you make an improvement on the layout. When you make an improvement on the layout, it helps the video. They kind of just walk forward together, right?
Yeah. So at the same time I'm creating these videos, I'm working on other projects on the layout that I'm going to show on my monthly layout update, which I try to do the first Sunday of each month. Over the course of the month, I've got my list of projects I want to get completed, and then when it comes layout update time, I can show what I did. It may not be much because I may have a whole lot of other things going on, but I can maybe show what my plans are in the future as far as any changes I'm going to be making to the layout or whatever. And so people have, they're following along, and they see the layout growing. Every year I do a layout tour video in November, and that basically shows the whole entire layout, what it currently looks like. And so it's really cool to me to go back and look at some of those earlier layout tour videos and then look at the latest ones and see just how much the layout has grown over the years. And not just the layout in general, but the rolling stock, the locomotives, how they've evolved, and details on the layout, and things that you can look back and be proud of that you were able to accomplish that. And I think the biggest driving factor has been the YouTube channel pushing me forward.
Yeah, it's a journal not only for you, it's a journal for everybody else and fans of the Seaboard Central as well.
Right, right. So I think it's really helped me to keep me going. I'm sure the layout would have kept going whether I was doing the YouTube channel or not, but I think this has pushed me, wanted me to get stuff done that maybe I would have not been as eager to get it done as quickly had I not had that saying, I need to get something done just to show the Seaboard Central fans that I'm working on the layout.
Let's geek out a little bit. Let's talk about some of the gear that you're using to create the videos.
Hey, you're going to really laugh when I tell you this, but if I'm just going to create weekly video, it's going to be just using an iPhone. I use one of the latest iPhones and I use iMovie to edit the video production. I've got a tripod. I take the phone out of the case. It mounts to a tripod. I got a separate light source that I will do, and I've got a separate external mic, a Rode mic that I can plug into the phone. If I need to do any kind of narration, sometimes I can. If I'm doing it while I'm making the video, I can use a lapel mic, or I can do voiceover or whatever I need to do. If depending on the video, the type of the video, whatever it is. So I'll film a bunch of different separate scenes, different angles, short clips, and then I'll just basically put it together in the iMovie software, and that's where I do the editing. A lot of stuff gets cut and thrown in the floor, so to speak. Doesn't make the final cut. I could probably include a blooper reel at the end showing where maybe I had a derailment or something. But anyway, so it's pretty simple. It's fast, quick, and easy. I can get a video. I can wake up Sunday morning early, come down to the basement, turn the layout on, get something going, and basically have everything filmed by 9:30. Go up and start editing it, and then upload it and have it ready to go live by 11 a.m.
So you found a pretty good workflow that seems pretty manageable for you.
Right, because I don't want to spend too much time on it because it's going to take away from time that I need to be focused on working on the layout itself. So, like I said, now if it's a more involved video, for example, some of the how-to videos, I may have to actually start filming that on Saturday because it may be a process where you're waiting on glue to dry or paint to dry or something of that sort. And you can't just do it all in one sitting or one take. You have to do it over, multiple days. And so those videos are a whole lot more involved. But and I'm telling you, the people that make those kind of videos, man, my hat's off to them because you are really putting into some work, and I feel bad for those folks that do all that kind of work and they're not getting the views or the likes that because it makes you, do you really want to continue to do this if people aren't really interested? So because it's a lot involved. It's easier for me just to do a railfan type video because I can run the trains. There's no problem. I can put those videos out, operating videos. I can put those out real quick. But those how-to videos where you're doing a whole process, those can take a minute.
Well, what I liked what you said about the gear, and you think I was going to laugh, and I'm not laughing because I really think it is that. I mean, you can get all the gear you want, but content is king.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it's important, right? It's not, necessarily, you got to have a decent video, and an iPhone shoots a decent video, and
you'd be surprised,
clarity and everything else. But yeah, it's really about the content
for model railroad, because you can get very close down. The phones these days have excellent cameras, and the biggest thing that I would say is get a tripod where you can put the phone in the tripod, so that would avoid the because you're just holding the phone with your hands. You're going to be all over the place, and you're gonna make people sick from going up and down and everywhere. But if you have it on a tripod, you can make everything nice and smooth. You can follow along, and that is, and also lighting. Lighting is huge. Making sure your subject matter is lit up properly and things like that. It would be easy for folks to do it. Just you don't doesn't take a whole lot. You can film something. I would recommend not just filming it, filming your train go by. Put the reason why. What is it doing? What's the train symbol? What's its task? Where's it going? What's it doing? You can do that through the editing process. You can just type what else you're doing, or you can do the voiceover, or you can talk about it while you're doing it. I've had some folks tell me, say, "Hey Tim, I like it when you're talking during your videos because I may just have the video on in the background. You know, I may be working on something else, but I've got your video going, but you're talking about what you're doing instead of just the video playing and you're just seeing the descriptions on the screen." And I didn't think about that, but that may be, I never thought of it that way. I've thought, well, people are generally just watching it, and some people maybe English is not their first language because you have people from all over the world watching your videos. And so having that description there that can be easily translated, I thought maybe that would be best, but not necessarily.
You talked about getting feedback. Let's talk about the community that being on social media has helped you build.
Yeah, I've had some people that's been subscribed for a long time, which is wonderful. I tend to have a group of people, great people that will watch my videos. There's probably around 2,000 of them that they're pretty dependable, that tune in about every week, maybe up to three, it depends. Like I said, you're competing with people that have outstanding content. Hopefully, they have time to watch both of our channels or more than one YouTube channel dealing with model railroading. But having something good, and I've got a lot of kind of casual subscribers that may not necessarily be model railroaders. Maybe they're more of the rail fan type, or they're in like just trains in general, and they're learning more about real things via my model railroad. And then so you pick up some people that aren't subscribers that just happen to stumble across your video, which hopefully maybe I've got enough good stuff on there, they'll consider subscribing.
For the person listening to this podcast now who wants to create some content based on their layout, they think they've got something they could share with others that would be beneficial to the community, what tips would you give them to get started?
First of all, do a tour of your layout, what you currently have, talk about some plans, and be willing to accept some people to comment. They may have a suggestion that you may not have thought about that you might consider, you may not consider, but you might consider it, and so be willing to accept any kind of, because if you're gonna put it out there in the public space, be willing to accept some feedback. People enjoy watching progress of you building your layout, and talk about what your layout is, what you're trying to accomplish, and be open and willing to, if you need some help, don't be afraid to ask. Just say, hey, and put it in the video, because I'll be honest with you, I've seen one particular channel that's more of like a for beginners or whatever, but he has a lot of subscribers. And he doesn't have the most beautiful railroad out there. It's not the most highly detailed or scenic, but the content that he puts out is so helpful to so many people, and the way he does it, that's the perfect example of what you can do. So don't think you have to have a top-notch model railroad, the best looking model railroad, the best operating model railroad out there. It's just showing simple, basic things of what you can do, because maybe you're looking at it, I can do that. I can show that or whatever. And someone may find that may help somebody get into the hobby, or it may help somebody get past a certain point. So as maybe you're really good at something in particular, and you can share your knowledge, because that's what it's about, is sharing what you have with others. And that's the way I'd say. I'd just do it. I'd start out showing what you have, your progress of your layout. If as it's coming along, projects that you got going on or that you want us to get started with, and then just go from there.
It ultimately says through the success that you've had and what you keep putting forward in your message, content is king. Mm-hmm. It's everything. And you can use an iPhone, you can get a tripod, tighten it up, get some lighting, use a lapel mic, get a little better sound, but you're not using studio production equipment to make these videos. It's all about really the content. And one thing that also seems to be important to your success, at least, is consistency. Mm-hmm. You have 11,000, almost pushing on 12,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel. But I'm sure you didn't start with 12,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel, and it certainly didn't get that after a week.
No. And you consistency, putting something out on a regular basis around the same time so people get used to, okay, they're looking for you at this particular time. You can even set it up. Say, for example, you got something else going on. You can set it up to where it will release at a certain time. So you could pre-record stuff and have it ready to go, and it'll publish at whatever time you have it planned to publish it. You can do that. I would start out, I know something else to think about is when you're filming your scenes, try not to stay on one particular area more than 30 seconds and switch. 15 to 30 seconds, find another angle, switch, do something else. Just don't make something blind as far as turning the train on and watching it go around in a circle. I would talk about it and show the reason why, what you're doing, and what you're going for.
It's all about storytelling, ultimately, isn't it?
You're telling the story, and a good storyteller, and that goes for anything, a TV show, a movie, or whatever. The really good ones can tell a good story.
Well, there's certainly plenty of storytelling here on the Seaboard Central Model Railroad. You can find that channel at youtube.com/@Seaboard Central. Of course, we're going to share the link to that in our show notes around the layout.com/221. And now it's time for our question of the month. This is where you, the listener, can hear your voice heard on Around the Layout podcast. This month's question of the month was, what model railroading content do you enjoy the most? Is it tutorials, layout tours, product reviews, or something else? And asked you to tell us about it in 90 seconds or less. You go to aroundthelayout.com/question, hit the record button. We have 8 great answers to listen to, so Tim and I are going to do that right now. Let's start with Bob Petit.
Good afternoon, Ray. My name is Bob Petit. I am from Northwest Indiana. The podcasts I enjoy most is operations, seeing what others are doing on the railroad, layout backstories for people who have freelanced, and projects. I always enjoy the podcast. Have a good day.
Well, thank you, Bob. And yeah, I think for those that operate or want to operate, a lot of great content from watching others operate and being able to take that information and apply it to your own railroad.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoy watching them and seeing how other people operate their layouts.
Now let's hear from Brian Sopke.
Hey, Ray, this is Brian Sopke with the Benton and Southern Railroad in Sandy, Oregon. Just wanted to answer your question of the month. What model railroading content do I enjoy the most? I like a combination of layout tours and tutorials. I love seeing what other people are doing on their railroads with the layout tours, and the tutorials are always good for learning how to do new techniques that may be able to improve my own modeling skills. Thanks so much. Hope you have a great month, and happy model railroading.
Yeah, and for you, Tim, you certainly have a lot of tutorials in yours. You talk about fading boxcars and weathering and all the things that you've learned. So there's a wide variety on your channel and a wide variety throughout YouTube.
Yeah, the how-tos and the tutorials, those are definitely helpful for people. And but I would say, as far as my channel goes, my most popular video of the entire year is definitely my layout tour video.
Let's head down under and hear from Darren Lee.
G'day, Ray, and the team from Around the Layout podcast. It's Darren from Queensland, Australia here. For the question of the month, I'd have to say that I enjoy layout tours, but of course, operations, anything to do with operations and the layout tours. Thanks for the podcast. Really enjoy the updates and keep up the great work. And hopefully we'll talk soon. Bye for now.
Well, thank you, Darren, and looking forward to seeing you in just under a month at the Sydney RPM. And this really kind of brings a point about where this content goes. It's a global thing, and it's so wild that when you create something to have somebody on the other side of the planet enjoy it, right?
It's wonderful to have people from all over the world that watches your content. Never would I've imagined people from other countries that would be interested in my little Seaboard Central.
All right, and off to Ian Farrell.
Hello, everyone. This is Ian Farrell from Mastic, New York, and Mastic Shortline on YouTube. The content I enjoy the most is tutorials. Tutorial videos have given me the courage to service my own locomotives and rolling stock, and they've also enabled me to wire 2 of my main lines for DCCEX. Product reviews are also good because others have tried before you buy. Layout tours, I kind of feel gives others layout envy if such a condition exists. Thank you, and keep up the excellent work, Ray.
Well, Ian, I can confirm that layout envy does exist, and there are certainly many layouts I've seen on YouTube that give me a lot of envy. And for you, Tim, as a content creator, watching other content, are you able to separate the watching it for the model railroad content and then watching it to see what the content creator has done? Are you getting both sides of that?
Me, probably the biggest thing is how they're creating their content as far as the style that they're using. The ones I prefer the most are their editing quality, not just what they're doing. I have some of my favorites that I like to watch, I enjoy watching, because I really appreciate and I know what's involved behind it and how much work they put behind what they're doing. And so, yeah, there, of course, there's people that have tremendous skill that I doubt I could ever achieve that level of skill, but I still can pick something up from even the ones that maybe are less skilled. Maybe they have a technique that I haven't even thought of before. So you can learn everywhere.
All right, let's head to Josh Clements.
Greetings. My name is Josh Clements, and I am from Rio Oso, California. I enjoy content that focuses on operations the most, especially when it goes beyond just showing the railroad and actually helps you get to know the modeler. For me, the best content explains why someone chose to model a particular railroad, era, and location, because the context makes content more interesting and meaningful.
Well, thank you, Josh. And I think you have a great point there about the why. And there's certainly a great story to be told in the why in content creation.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. If you're going to make a video and you're going to do operations, explain what you're doing, how and why, because that's what people are interested in. Just showing the trains moving back and forth without giving the context behind it and what's involved, what you're up against, that's going to make your video a lot more interesting when you're explaining what you're doing and why you're doing it.
All right, let's head over to Europe with Robin Felder.
Hi, Ray and listeners of the podcast. My name is Robin and I'm from Switzerland. So my answer to this month's question, what content I enjoy the most, is I think number one is tutorial, all kinds of tutorials that are related to model railroading, especially weathering, because most of the stuff that I learned in terms of weathering was through tutorials, mostly on YouTube. Some of the content was from Facebook, but I think it's like 95% was YouTube. And then also scenery work, for example, videos on channels like Boomer's Dioramas. And of course, when I originally started, most of the content I learned was from Luke Towan from Australia. And then a close second is layout tours like NS Modeler 24 or the BNSF Fall River Division. I really enjoy layout tours from time to time. When I did some weathering, then I often enjoyed to relax a little bit, watch some new layout tours of specific layouts. I also enjoy those. And then I think number three would be some stuff like product reviews. Even though I don't really watch a lot of them, sometimes it's helpful if the stuff is still available. But often the products are already sold out and you have to pre-order anyways. So I think number one is tutorials, all kinds of those, as long as it's related to model railroading. And then the close second would be layout tours, definitely. And then from time to time, additional content like obsession, stuff like that. Thank you and have a good day.
Well, thank you, Robin. And he talks about weathering, and I think weathering is one of those very important tutorials if you're learning to weather. And there's so many different approaches. So the content out there really gives you a great opportunity to decide what works best for you.
Yeah, there's a lot of good channels that offer good weathering techniques out there that you can learn so much things. I'm going to tell you, one of the channels, it's not here in the United States, but it's actually in Germany, and it's in German. But the modeling is incredible when it comes to how to, and the guy's building his layout. It's called Freestyle MOBA. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but if you haven't, check that channel out. It is amazing modeling. It's it's modeling German style model railroading, but someone building a layout that you may not necessarily how you would build it here in the United States, but using the techniques that they're using over there is just next level. And so you can learn a lot from people that you may not even know their language, but you can still learn what they're doing just by watching.
Yeah, and we will definitely share the link to that channel on our website, aroundthelayout.com/221. Let's head to Sam Dickinson.
Hello all, Sam Dickinson from Evansville, Indiana. It's hard to say what model railroading content I enjoy the most since I consider myself to be a jack of all genres. However, one niche topic I happen to have an interest in is British 00. And there are 3 YouTube channels that showcase this interest that are in my lineup. Number 1 is The Unlucky Tug and his series Tug's Trains, where he goes over how he built his layout and his custom locomotives. Number 2 is Neville Grove. This is run by a gentleman who does custom weathering jobs on British locomotives and rolling stock and showcases them on his beautiful Neville Grove layout, complete with realistic sounds added for effect. Number 3 is Jimmy Lambert, and specifically his series Tea and Moonshine. This is a hilarious comedy series featuring British locomotives in America. And unless you are a person that is 100% serious, 100% prototypical, and 0% fun when it comes to model trains, you are guaranteed to get a laugh out of that series. Hope this answers your question. Look forward to hearing the other answers, and I hope you all have a great day.
Well, thank you, Sam. And it seems to me that Sam has found his people. He talks about niche things within our hobby. And I mention it many times that the hobby is so much better shared. And when you find people that are like you or share something in common, it definitely makes it all that much more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what content creation also allows people to do, to go out and find their people.
Right. And there's a lot of great layouts in Great Britain. There's a lot of, they love their trains, probably more so than we do here in the United States when it comes to the total population. There's a lot of model railroaders, great model railroaders over there.
Absolutely. It is a worldwide hobby for sure. And our final stop takes us to Ted DiIorio.
Hey, Ray. This is Ted DiIorio from New Jersey. Things I like and enjoy are tutorials. Been doing a lot of tutorials lately on YouTube, watching other people weathering, trying to build up my skill set and learn new techniques to go along with what I already do. I also like to watch a lot of stuff on scenery. Starting to think about scenery for my layout. So I am watching lots of tutorials about that, tree making, bush making, terrain and stuff like that. Sometimes my taste might change and I might be doing something different, and maybe I'll have something else that I like. But right now it's just tutorials. All right. Everybody have a great week and month, and catch you later.
Well, thanks, Ted. And I think what makes this one of the greatest hobbies on the planet, or the greatest hobby on the planet, is continuous learning. We're always learning something new. And that definitely is something that content creators are able to help foster.
Right. And it's not necessarily just only model railroading, but you can learn how to make trees and scenery from even the gamers, because there's some great YouTubers out there that are in the gaming community making some spectacular looking trees and scenery that you can transfer or translate into your model railroad. So that's something to think about.
Well, thank you to everyone who submitted their answers to the question of the month. Again, we'll have a question again for next month. Head to our website, aroundthelayout.com/question. There you'll see the question of the month. You'll see the button, follow the instructions, record your answer, and you just might hear your answer played here on Around the Layout podcast. Tim, you took us through quite a trip here on how you've used your Seaboard Central to create awesome content on your YouTube channel, the Seaboard Central. We'll share all the links on our website, aroundthelayout.com/221. Thank you so much for coming on Around the Layout and telling us all about it.
Thanks for having me, and thank you everybody for checking out the Seaboard Central.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Around the Layout. Learn more about today's episode, check out past shows, and much more on our website, aroundthelayout.com. Show your support by becoming an operating crew member at aroundthelayout.com/crew. Follow us on social media, aroundthelayout.com/social. And send us your feedback, aroundthelayout@gmail.com. Thanks for hanging out with us around the layout.